welcome to the Principles of Successful Family Relationship. I'm really happy to see all of you today and still in for the ideal family. So if you remember well, we were talking about the importance of having a goal as a family, as a couple, in order to reach this kind of successful, beautiful, ideal family we all want to have. Our speaker, so his name is Joseph Gundaker. We already know him, we saw him last week. So it's my pleasure to welcome him up today.
Thank you, and good evening to all of you from all over. I don't know from which countries, but I really greet you here from Vienna. I hope you hear me well. Do you hear me well? Now, first of all, I will share my screen. Wait a minute. Bildschirm 1, Bildschirm 2. Do you see it? Yeah. Do you see it? Yeah. Fine, yeah, okay, yeah. So I will start my presentation again. Once again, thank you for joining us for this session again. Today, I mean, that topic is also for me a very inspiring and interesting topic. And I think so for many years, as I know, think about and researches on the topic. And first of all, I will start start out, but with the topic why the atheistic materialistic worldview is actually the problem. I will talk about how that atheistic materialistic thinking and worldview, how much it influences our lives. Last time, you remember, I spoke at length about how the atheistic, materialistic thinking and worldview last time I spoke at length about the nature of the human being. I've spoke about the family as a living organism. I spoke about the dynamics of relationships, about the principles of growth, and about freedom and responsibility. I hope it was interesting for you. It is always very interesting for me. To understand the spiritual nature of a human being is fundamental for being able to understand the basic problem of human conflict and to find real solutions for them. So, what is the difference between an atheistic, materialistic way of thinking and life and a spiritual and value-oriented way of thinking and life? I said last time, we all think in images and we act according to what we see, hear, and perceive. What does this mean for our interpersonal relationships and for our social life? If you look at the person or at the person next to you and see in that person your brother or sister, you will also treat him or her as a brother or sister. If you meet on the street an older person and see in that person your uncle or auntie, you will meet and greet him or her as such. But if you see only a foreigner and stranger in the other, you will not pay attention and ignore him. If you see an enemy in the other person, you will defend yourself constantly and build up new protective mechanisms. You will react to the slightest movement of your supposed enemy. Your actions are motivated by defense, by anger, revenge, and fear. The biblical story of Esau and Jacob shows us that dynamic. You remember, Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given to Jacob. So Esau thought of killing Jacob. He saw an enemy in Jacob. On the other hand, when Jacob went to meet Esau, he embraced him and said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, accept this gift from me, for to see your face is like seeing the face of God." Jacob saw in Esau his beloved brother. Another example of that dynamic is if you see a person next to you as a competitor, how will you react? You have to constantly prove that you're better than him. And you will look for the weaknesses of your competitor in order to appear in a good light yourself. And what happens? What do you see when the person next to you look to as an object? You will ask yourself, what can I gain from him? And if you only think in a self-centered way, you will always ask yourself, what do I need? What can I get out of it? What do I want and what's good for me? The atheistic and materialistic thinking of today focuses on the individual as the measure of all things, and it perceives the other person as object for one's own purpose. That kind of thinking is based on deficits and greed. And the richness and the joy of a true loving relationship is shut down. When I started to understand that we human beings are spiritual beings, my perspective of life changed completely. Suddenly, I also understood the real and fundamental problems in our secular materialistic world. I realized that we are all brothers and sisters under one God, one root, and one common parent. I mentioned already last time that today's science doesn't get to the bottom of the human being because it only looks at human beings materialistically and according to external characteristics and our behaviors. It simply cannot grasp the value and the dignity of a human being. Sociology deals only with the structure and functioning of society and the action of individuals in social contexts. The French mathematician, philosopher, and a critic of religion, Auguste Comte, is known as the founder of positivism and co-founder of sociology. He described sociology as social physics. And for the German sociologist and national economist Max Weber, everything is just a social process. I'm sure you have heard about behaviorism. Behaviorism is a philosophical position and a systematic approach to understanding the behavior of humans and other animals. And here I address another animals. So human being, in that point of view, is it only a higher mammal, which must be kept and managed in a species appropriate manner. An important branch of economics is behavioral economics. Maybe you have heard about that a branch of behavioral economics. It deals with human behavior in economic situations. And economists is the conviction that people must be managed and controlled. Second, people, also we, all of us, we are products, and also our sexuality is also a product and should therefore be consummated like a pizza. And people must be motivated by rewards or punishments, or by the method of carrot and sticks. To put in front a carrot and the sticks to drive from behind. Because of this materialistic thinking, so many people in our society define themselves by the amount of money they have, their possessions, their achievements, and their position in society. What happens when you treat another person as your possession and commodity? And what happens when you treat your child as your possession, who has to serve you? Your child will not trust and want to separate from you. You will then no longer reach the heart, the motivation, and the talent of the child. But on the other hand, what will happen when you give your time and attention unconditionally to your son or daughter? Your child will react completely different. This control mentality, which I call it, in our society became dominant. And this mentality prevails also in our families and also in our education system. And that management and control mentality we find often also in couples' relationships. There's a lot of talk about the balance between work and life, and I observe that many women and men organize their time and interests very well, but many are often reluctant to do the work at home, like cooking, cleaning, and taking care of the child. They do these things only out of duty because they have to. Does it make a difference if I do something out of real love or only to fulfill my duty? The difference is like day and night. A couple, for example, who is living together mainly out of convenience will negotiate every day who will do what. They see their housework as duty and a burden. But for a couple who is honestly and sincerely in love and support each other, the question who cooks and who takes out the rubbish is then no longer a question. They perceive those jobs completely different. The US writer and author John Gardner once remarked, most ailing organizations have developed a functional blindness to their own defects. They suffer not because they cannot solve the problems, but because they cannot see the problems. The same is true with regard to our interpersonal and family relationships, and also our physical and mental health. Most couples who break up not only fail to see their own weaknesses and character deficit, but have seldom the desire to change their life. This brings me to what I believe is the greatest human problem. The problem that has led to the greatest tragedies, animosities, hatred, and murder in human history. It is the misunderstanding and abuse of love. The encyclopedia defines love as a strong feeling of being attracted, a strong affection based in feeling for a close person. This definition describes love as a feeling. It doesn't say how love can be fulfilled and doesn't distinguish between a true, genuine love and a false and manipulating love. That raises the question, what is love? And what does true love mean? Let's say a young couple falls in love with each other. What does it mean? It means often that he sees in this woman someone he feels could satisfy all his physical and emotional needs. And she sees in this man someone she can rely on, who protects her and gives her security. It is love, but each take care only of their own emotional needs. It is not love for the other. The other becomes the object for one's love. I love you often means I love you because you are brave. You are successful and wealthy. Because you fight for me. The popular phrase among couples, I love you more than anything, I can't live without you, is often deceptive because it does not so much prove great love as it expresses the lack of independence and maturity. It puts one's own need for love in the first place. It is self-love. The partner becomes a means for one's own emotional satisfaction. It is only for oneself. The lover depends on the feelings of the other to validate him or herself. It has little to do with the needs of the other. Today, I have also some bad news for all social liberal movements and those people who are dedicated to promoting only individualism. They always demand equal rights for equal love, but that promotes only self-love. But that is not how love works. Self-love is not an unconditional love for the other, but says, I love you if you love me first. So it is something I need, something I lack, something I aspire to, and something I have a right to. And associate this with the unconscious expectation that the other person will fulfill their emotional needs. And if the feeling of love then fades and both no longer feel the same feelings for each other, they usually see no other way out than to separate. Because if the partner doesn't respond in the proper way and fulfill the expectation, one is disappointed and begins to doubt love, begins to doubt the other. And this sets a negative dynamic in motion. One begins to distance oneself and look at the others critically. In the course of time, one ends up, and to put it in biblical terms, only seeing the speck in the other's eye and not perceiving the beam in one's own eye. How does love work? Erich Fromm noted that people mistakenly believe that the problem of love is about an object and not a capacity. Many people think it is easy to love, but it is difficult to find the right partner to whom to love and be loved by. People make a serious mistake when they think that you give to the one you love. It is exactly the other way around. You love the one you give. I had to reflect on that. And that was very, very inspiring for me. The feeling of love is not a product, but a result of our action.
Oops, sorry, I think you got muted by accident.
Does it work again?
Yes.
Okay. Was it cut off?
Just one sentence.
Okay. Then how does love work? Erich Fromm noted that people mistakenly believe that the problem of love is about an object and not a capacity. Many people think it is easy to love, but it is difficult to find the right partner to love and be loved by. People make a serious mistake when they think that you give to the one you love. It is the other way around. You love the one you give. The feeling of love is not a product, but the result of our actions. Love, in its purest form, is unconditional. Katharine Hepburn said, "Love is not what you expect to get, but what you are willing to give." So, lasting love is only possible based on honesty, on responsibility and integrity. True love is a choice based not on the other person's behavior, social status, possessions, or level of education, but on their intrinsic value as a human being. We don't have to love, we choose to love. Now, I would like to talk briefly about the three primal laws of love. And these primal laws of love I call, and I have that from the book of Stephen Covey, The 7 Ways of Effectiveness for Families. The first one is acceptance instead of rejection. The second one is understanding instead of judging. And the third one is support instead of manipulation. Stephen Covey writes in his book, to live according to these laws is an active decision based not on the other person's behavior, but on their value as a human being. Many people will do anything to put someone they love on what they think is the right course and will try to shape the other person according to their own ideas. People's love for their partner and children is often conditionally, and they use love as a pretext to control and manipulate the other. Marlene Dietrich said, most women will do anything to change a man. And when they have changed him, they don't like him anymore. Often people love their own ideas and desires more than the other. But in doing so, they run the risk of being guided by the wrong laws of love, by rejection, by judgment and manipulation. And what's the result? The other feels rejected and struggles to remain as he is. When we accept and love others as they are, we encourage them to become better. However, this does not mean that we approve of their weaknesses and share their opinions unconditionally. No. We simply affirm their intrinsic value. We respect their thoughts and feelings. We do not force them to defend themselves permanently. Rather, we can use their energy to develop and that they can tap into their own potential. When we love others unconditionally, we release their natural power and activate their natural power so that they can become better. To do this, we need to see the other person, and especially our children, regardless of their behavior, and believe in their potential. With that, I'd like to end this first presentation. Thank you very much.